the people, there was a lot of dark, black-looking people in the video in Palestine.
I don't know, to be honest.
Well, Ottoman Empire was in Africa.
Maybe they enslaved lots of black people. They brought. Maybe you're right. But they could be so diverse. These Palestinians.
I think it was.
Okay.
So sorry to divert away from this conversation we're having. Do you believe in anything? Do you believe in God? Because what's happening in Palestine is actually linked with justice, creator, free
The
will.
world is not just.
Yeah.
We can strive for justice as humans because we have intelligence.
Do you believe in a creator?
I doubt it, really doubt it.
Yeah.
But it's good to believe in it.
So do you think?
I don't condemn your belief.
Do you think this scooter of yours? I'm sure it goes more than 35 miles an hour. You'd have to tell me, right? You can do lots of things on your on this, right? Legally it should be 15, but anyway. You cannot, as a smart individual, believe and have doubt that this came from just like that by accidents. You would never believe in it.
I believe in the evolutionary process.
Look, you will reject the idea that this popped into existence without a maker. The sun and the moon and the galaxies.
This is not an organic.
Look around.
We're organic.
The sun
We're
and the moon. My example is like for like. This is not organic. The sun and the moon are not organic. Galaxies are not organic. So these things, did they just come into existence without a maker? And put them in their place with the
I just
laws?
think I understand the design argument. The world does look very nice and ordered and beautiful and all, but that's because of the process of evolution, I think.
Evolution is a process that describes about life, how it evolved. I'm going beyond evolution, before life came into this world.
Yeah, even the formation of planets, that's still
so that's not evolution. No, that's not subject of evolution. That is not a subject of evolution.
So what is that?
Evolution is a subject that we study when it talks about the origin of life and its development into more and more complex, advanced species, right? From something that was less complex. It wasn't like as it is. But at one point, there was no life. Then life is seeded into our world in whatever way, either from outer space, like Richard Dawkins believed, or it actually emerged from this world.
At what point do you consider something to have life? Because even a single particle has an electron spinning around it. So is that considered life? I mean, it's not a human.
Life is described with different kind of definitions. A life in biology is not going to account for your definitions in quantum mechanics, for example, quantum physics. Because in this description that you're giving, you're saying there's some kind of consciousness between the particles within this micro world in which one recognizes the other, and that's why you have the interaction. Maybe you can explain better. When you have in a subatomic world, when you have particles interacting with each other, they must recognize one another. Recognize.
Sense the presence. Sense the presence.
Sense the presence of another particle, and that's why they're able to interact, attract, repulse, whatever, right? Or do all kind of things. So this may be some level of consciousness or self-awareness of these things, but we're talking about the origin of all of this universe cannot be simply just appeared by no engineer, no designer. Do you see the point? If there is no, if you cannot accept,
why not?
Then why don't you accept your scooter was made by no one? It just happened. It is.
Because I believe in the law of cause and effect.
So if you see the effect with such precision, you know about all this fine-tuning arguments, I'm sure, because you talked about design argument. Fine-tuning argument is such that if it was even like a billionth of something here or there, it's not going to be like that. The world would not be as it is.
That's why it's taken millions of years, hundreds of millions.
Doesn't matter if you give billions and billions of years, it's still not going to happen. Time is not a factor. That is, again, I think, as a misconception.
The Big Bang is literally the moment time began, as we know at the moment.
If we give enough time, how much time do you want? Billion, zillion, trillion, and we get a scooter like that? Without any intelligence behind it? Time is not a factor.
It will form and then disintegrate again. It will not be held into a
I
particular
definitely
form.
so there is some such thing as intelligence.
Okay. That's what we're saying. If there's an intelligence behind our universe, this
But
being which is intelligent, what are the other attributes of this intelligent being? Why did this intelligent being
you're
create
already going to a being. I don't think you have to go straight to a being.
existence?
It's not
That
like
thing
a
which is existent,
not
that existent reality, agent, which is possessor of
A
intelligence.
rock has intelligence, but it's not. It's an
A rock doesn't
inanimate
have
object.
a rock doesn't have intelligence. Can this rock make you a scooter given enough time?
But listen, it contains the elements that made us.
No. If
That before
Initiate on
can
itself.
this rock
It cannot initiate the process on
yeah, but I'm
itself.
saying it contains the, if we're looking evolutionarily before life began, we had to have the elements, right? But at the moment of the Big Bang, when everything was hot, the elements weren't around for them to be around yet.
this
They
process
didn't exist yet.
this
It's
process
an evolutionary process
No,
of
that-
cooling down.
that process
of
would not
cooling down.
take place at all if there wasn't a processor who put
Or a
laws
specific
in this
design of
process.
laws. It's
Without
not
a
like randomly every particle is popping up.
It's not like
It's
that.
not like that. It is following particular specific laws.
If there are no laws present at that time, it would not be like it.
Like we
But
can
the laws
form
are made.
and you should
I can't.
you have to ensure that laws are
Yeah, there are laws.
enforced.
That's a good point you make. Laws, but
Law cannot make itself even on itself.
Law cannot, neither can it make itself,
Non-enforced.
nor it can enforce it in
But
practice.
if we look at the second zero, right, when the or 0.01, the moment of the Big Bang, all we know is that it was was it infinite amount of energy and mass?
Sometimes people have different estimates. I mean, it depends on theories. I mean, you are not sure about what was the content of that energy. But you can infer that because
I just don't see the logic in pointing to an intelligent being when there's so many flaws
Whatever-
in human beings.
It's not a flaw. We
No, it's
are
a flawed
no.
body.
We are fit for our purpose. Everything in the creation that you see, in the world that you see, they are originated fit for purpose.
Species
Fit
have
for
not been
purpose.
fit. They've died out. Many species have died.
They were fit for
maybe that
purpose.
due to
It wasn't the intention for the creator to keep preserved all of these things.
But now we have created super intelligence, artificial intelligence. Is that God's work or is that our work?
Do you think
Super intelligence.
Do you think you can
Well-
get more intelligence than the one who's making it?
I think so because if I look at the possibilities of artificial intelligence, I think it has the capabilities of creating another period of enlightenment. Because
But it is bound by the program. I mean, you have neural
yes,
network.
I accept that there are parameters in our world.
Yes. So it cannot exceed. Another point is that what is the problem that complexity cannot arise from simplicity
The
or
parameters-
randomness because there will be violation of conservation of information.
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
If you say that some complex mechanism can pop up or emerge from simple random things, then there will be a violation of the conservation of information. Total information is not something unconserved in our universe. I mean, you cannot generate information.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of information.
Have you heard of conservation of energy? Likewise, it's conservation of information.
Information is there.
Yep. If we have like this, there'll be a violation of this. Just like you can't violate the conservation of energy, you can't violate the other rules.
If initial setting was not containing any quality of free will or consciousness, you could not have that in your emergent properties. Like we cannot have, because like if you throw some dice, you cannot have head or tail. To have a head or tail as one of the options, you should initially start with a coin, not a dice. Or if you want to have a six
Yeah, but we
daughter
know
side.
evolution, mutations happen, things change, parameters change.
But there is
the Earth has changed. There's been
those are
cooling
not
down.
random.
They're not random. Like people used to believe mutations are random. That is
should be
old
considered
science.
It is random. It's based on
That's
so many
old.
factors.
That's old
Lifestyle.
science. No, that's old science. Science has upgraded itself with more and more understanding.
Artificial intelligence now new data, new pattern has has emerged, or they have found that new pattern is there, that mutation is not random. It follows a pattern.
People used to believe in that,
It's guided,
right?
it is guided by the basic laws of chemistry. I mean,
I'm not against.
like some have you seen some artist who throws the ink on a canvas, and it may look like to you that he is throwing or she is throwing the ink randomly, but at the end of the day you found a
nice art,
yeah, nice
right?
art. But maybe that randomness is due to your relative inability to recognize the intelligence behind it or the purpose behind it. So that's a sign of free will. Free will may have a appearance of randomness, and also it has a consistency, and the outcome should be meaningful. Like
free will is also, we're not totally free. It's very dependent on environment,
Yes.
again, which is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big evolutionary.
Yeah, we agree. We agree on that. We have the same
mutation also.
understanding.
I mean, pure randomness cannot create something meaningful, like trees and then grass and then birds, everything, and they are interconnected.
So let's go back.
Yeah.
You see this cap, which is, in ordinary sense, it's not self-aware. It's not conscious of its own self. It doesn't have a will, and it doesn't have this energy to make something. So if the universe, at any one point, was something that is not aware of itself, not possessor of abilities and power and energy, and not possessor of a will, intention, volition, just like this cap cannot make another scooter, our universe could not transfer itself in anything. Can this cap make your scooter?
No.
Of course not, because it's not even aware that it exists. It doesn't have.
We know energy transfers. So maybe
Is the
somehow
energy-
there's some sort of will to gather more, like.
If you give the energy a will, self-awareness, ability and power and intention, what you're doing is relabeling what we call the originator, creator. Only things happening is a semantic relabeling. Instead of accepting, yes, there is someone called the originator, the creator of our universe, and people say, he's the one worthy of our utmost praise and glory and thanks and gratitude, which means worship, right? And the one who is worthy of that worship, we say God. So instead of accepting that there is a God or creator of this universe, all we're doing is relabeling semantically. This is called conscious, self-aware, willing energy.
Intelligent.
Do you see it's a relabeling happening, but still accepting the same thing. And the reason people try to relabel it is because of the repercussions, because of the consequence that awaits. Because if you know that there is a willing creator that made you and me for a reason, you should have to ask, why? What is the purpose of my life? Let me give you an example. You wake up one day in a train, fast-moving train. There's no one there in that train. Front doors locked. You're in a what's called a buggy or something, right? All these compartments. The back is locked. The windows, you can't open them, but you can see like you're very fast going there. If you wake up in something like that, you will be asking, I was sleeping in my bed last night. What am I doing here? How did I get here? Where am I going? Or are you going to say, oh, let me just sit there. Maybe it's a bad nightmare. And sit your nightmare, and it's so much, you feel hungry. You haven't got any food. You're going to start thinking, how did I get here? Where am I going to go? You tried opening, you can't. The train's not stopping anywhere. You would seriously think at that point, what am I doing here? How did I get here? Where am I going? This life, you need to ask the same question. Where did you come from?
I think it's important.
Where did you come from? What are you doing in this
about
life?
The future.
Where did you get
Know
to?
your root and
Where are you going? What happens after death? All of these existential questions, my friend, of course, it's important to ask now rather than saying when I'm old, I will find out. Because you don't know when we are going to die. People die when they're young. Young people die, babies die, children die. So no one knows when they're going to die. But if we did not ask this question and find answers to them, and we were negligent in doing so, then when we are brought back to our originator and the originator asks you, I created you for a purpose. Why did you not fulfill it? What are you going to make an excuse? Your excuse would not be accepted because your justification of like, I was too busy with my girlfriend, with my studies, with my whatever, amusement. It's not going to be acceptable.
What do you believe I should do then? You just believe I should worship Allah.
the first and the most important thing is acknowledging that there is an originator,
I
creator
can't
of it.
acknowledge him because he hasn't made it clear. He hasn't made it clear.
No, using your intellect, you know there has to be one. There has to be one.
I can name you many problems. There's flaws in the design of the human body. There's a problem of evil. There is...
You can have a creator creating human beings fit for purpose and also creating all these elements of tests around you to see whether you are actually fulfilling the purpose. So he can have earthquakes and see whether you are patient and whether you're still thankful or not. He can take away something from you, part of your, crops and wealth and life, or whatever it might be, as a test and see whether you are actually being steadfast and patient. Because you are not created here with an open, free pass to say, enjoy life and do whatever you want. No.
But hold on, who's more steadfast and righteous? Let's say Jesus, the Jews who don't eat pork because you lot follow the same rules, Muslims follow the same rules.
Your question is this. Okay, fine, it makes sense that, okay, we need to be like that, but there are so many different religions around. How do we decipher which one's the truth? Yeah? How do we decipher which one is indeed the true religion? Islamic perspective is this. One originator created human beings. From one pair of human beings, we are all the offsprings. Throughout human history, he sends prophets and messengers, human beings, to remind them as his agents, to give them the communication, the purpose of their life, what they have to do, and what they have to avoid. Those who believed in that, they were successful. They were okay. This continued. But at a certain point of time, what happened is people started trying to change that message. And that's why they diverted away from the original, same message of the originator. So that message was no other than pure, sincere, willing submission to our originator. In Arabic it's called Islam. The message of Islam was there from day one to every human being. But people corrupted it, changed it, modified it. And that's why today we see Christianity is a corruption of the original message, in which a messenger was sent from the originator to tell the people about the same thing.
No, because they're following all these rules, that don't make them righteous.
No, what I'm saying is,
Muslims and Jews, them following rules, following rules blindly don't make you righteous.
If they followed the same rules, unadulterated rules, they would be all okay. But people have changed their religion, changed it, corrupted it, and that's why they've made it into different religions. And now we have so many different religions. But actually, in the sight of God, Creator, there is only one acceptable way of life, which is Islam, pure submission to Him. But people then went away from this.
But even then, that's subjective. What is the pure way of Islam? Because there's 72 sects,
No.
probably more.
People can deviate from the true path. People can, because of their own choice.
Can I make a comment? I don't think there is a true path. I think we're all unique, and as humans,
Path of the messenger.
The
true path is the path of the messenger sent by God, that this is the straight path.
What, Muhammad?
The last messenger.
How was he the
if we were at the time of Moses, the prophet, peace be upon him, he would have been the path. He would have been the path, the only path to God.
But what about the South Americans who never even heard of these laws?
Whichever prophet came to them, he was the path to God.
But there were no prophets in the Americas.
No. Every nation had a warner. What is remaining is all these remnants, because people deliberately, willfully changed and went away from these messages from God. And that's why it doesn't matter if you go to Amazonian jungle, you will still find they have some kind of belief of the supreme, the worship.
Has a belief of the invisible.
They have some kind of belief still there, remnant still there. So whether you go to east or west, doesn't matter, the remnant still remains. The only specific distinction with Prophet Muhammad is he's the last of the messengers.
Virtues are virtues. You know, virtues, these are invisible things. There's things that are invisible that we can conjure up in our head, but I can't conjure up an infinite being. That's not even
But you know there has to be a being.
Realistic.
But you know there has to be a being necessarily with these qualities. You might not comprehend it. To give you an example of simple things, finite and infinite. We are finite. We cannot totally grasp infinite. It will be very difficult. But we understand infinity when we understand finite, which is the opposite of finite, is infinite. We understand what is joy when we appreciate what is misery, suffering, pain. Yeah? We have this dichotomy, this contrast, we understand each other. We understand nothing by something and vice versa. So once we know this world is contingent, I'm sure you've heard about this. Contingent world requires a necessary existence, necessary being. You don't have to comprehend it, but you can logically accept it, rationally accept it, because that will be the inference which is sound and valid. That's why, my friend, what's your name?
Mateus.
Matheus, I'm Mansur.
Mansur, yeah.
Sarwar,
Nice to meet you.
Aziz, what we're saying, nice to meet you. If you, as smart as you are, don't waste your time going around in this world and being negligent in the purpose that you are created for, you were for. You with all these things, you remember all your cells as they're migrating at the very first instance, right? During the formation of the blastocyst and so on. From your mom and dad when they came, what happened? The cells were dividing, but they didn't just stop there. The cells started making into a specific type of their own, and they came together and aggregated into like the skin of the tissue, which is different from the skin of the tissue or the cells of your heart or your liver or your kidney. They're different, but they recognized that I need to go there in the heart because I am a heart cell. I need to go to the tissue of the heart to form the heart. You know, all of this are all there, set, programmed. So having that knowledge, Matheus, the thing that is required of you is acknowledging that there is an originator, finding out the purpose, and the purpose is given in the Quran, the final revelation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The Creator says, I have not created man and this invisible creation called the jinn except to worship me. Worship is your utmost reverence, your gratitude and your thanks to the Creator. I mean, you would give thanks to someone who gives you food when you're hungry, gives you drinks when you're thirsty, right? So God has given you all of that and the mechanism to actually digest it and utilize it. We should be thankful, and that thankfulness and gratitude is what is the purpose of our life. And He's given us something, as you've realized earlier on, some faculty of limited amount of choice. And that's what makes human being quite special from many other creation. We can reject and deny. We can say, I don't want to believe in God. I don't care. So He wants to make sure these people are the ones who test against themselves to be not a recipient of God's mercy in the hereafter. Because this life is not the only life. God tells us in the Quran, we will all die. There will be a day of resurrection and a day of judgment. When every single...
Really believe
No, that's what you believe, but this is what He tells us. That everyone will be raised and they will have to account for their belief and their actions. Anyone who has the righteous actions and the right belief, correct belief, they will be rewarded with eternal life of happiness. Those who were rebel, rejected, knowing the truth,
They were enslaved.
they will be punished. They will be responsible for their own destination. There will be no excuse. They will say like, oh, send us back will be good. Now I will listen, send us back. But it will never happen. There's no chance to coming back. One chance, so we need to really utilize it.
So those who appreciate the things which have been given to the
I do appreciate like
There's hope. To appreciate a bit more.
I do have one already. I don't want to take it if
But he has one.
Okay,
It's okay?
okay.
Yeah.
But read it. It's not.
There you go. He got you there. It's not having it on your shelf, but to read and reflect on it.
correct alignment of heart is very necessary for purified action.
I will.
Correct alignment.
Yeah. So let's leave it there. I think we've given you enough point of reflection. If you decide to become a Muslim, you know what to do. Come and find a Muslim
I
and
already
say,
have really already. I've said my shahada, but I don't feel Muslim. You know, if
so you need to then really what we call rejuvenate.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about resurrection.
Yeah. So you need to really say, look, I need to really make my shahada. What's called? Is it rejuvenation, isn't it?
Again and again.
What's the reason?
Yeah. So you may have.
because I feel like you have to use your own will to survive. I don't think Allah will help me.
God gives you so many things for your own good, right?
I mean, when you go to sleep and then you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
So who is responsible for this transformation? It's God. Can you feel yourself?
It's not God, it's my health that I look after. I look after myself to be able to wake up the next morning, not Allah.
When you're asleep, are you the one beating your heartbeat consciously?
No, it's a
The one who programmed it, God.
no, but
Is maintaining it. I mean, it's
Who's
not
maintaining
like-
it? When you're asleep, you don't even know what's going
Who's
on around
enforcing
you.
the laws.
yeah, we've been evolved to sleep, to
No,
rest,
it's
to,
not-
to rebuild our
The one
energy.
that evolved you
Rebuild our
doesn't have a
muscles.
brain, doesn't have intelligence, doesn't have consciousness. That's evolution. So evolution cannot make you evolve like that. This is a myth that people are bringing to us, like, oh, evolution has designed such a system. Evolution itself is only a process without any intelligence. It doesn't know, it's not self-aware. It can't do anything. Like my cap is not self-aware. It can't make biryani, it cannot make your scooter, nothing. So this creator is where you have to submit to and say, look, I realize all of this, okay? I really need to surrender to the will of my creator. Why am I here? And to fulfill that purpose. Because if I die not fulfilling the purpose, then I will be really in a mess.
I think you should, you can do, I mean, you can redefine yourself. Like you are saying that I am. Now who is that? Who is making you feel that I am? Who is making you feel in consciousness? I mean, that by our reasoning, it is the God. Only God is making you. I mean, when you are feeling yourself, it is directly you are feeling God's action. You are feeling God's action directly. No one is making you conscious.
Okay. I want to come back to the point because you said you have given a shahada,
No,
but it's
but
not.
we can alter
So-
our states of consciousness. I can have
Yeah.
a drink and then I'll be partially conscious.
But who is maintaining that mechanism?
Well, like I said, it's an evolutionary process. So some people are more conscious than others because of.
Evolution cannot.
Because of-
evolution will not
Some people are
guarantee.
stuck in the dark ages.
Yeah, evolution will not guarantee your state. Evolution is randomness, so it can
Yes,
change
there is a-
randomly.
there is
so
a
that's why
randomness,
you need a
probabilities.
guarantor. Yeah.
What-
So we have already
That's why I
discussed
said
that.
humans are not perfect. Many
Matthews,
people come
there's
out
one
with,
point. There's one point to reflect. This is called, some people they come and say, look, I'm the king of England, right? Do you know how we rectify problems like this when somebody who's not the king of England and says the king of England? We go through a process to really psychoanalyze them and make them come back to the reality, because there's some kind of cognitive impairment that's happened. So you say, okay, fine, oh, you're the king of England, okay, where's your palace? Who's your queen? Keep on asking questions like this and so on and so forth. You confront them with the reality and eventually realize, oh, I don't have a queen, I don't have a palace. How am I the king? They will realize. Likewise, once we give you the Quran and you're confronted with the Quran and telling you the Quran cannot be produced by any other human beings, any other creation, can only be a scripture revelation from God, and you look at the evidence, so many, one after the other, keep reading, keep understanding and saying, how can the Quran be a product of any human being? How can the Quran be not other than God? It will bring you back to the reality and say, okay, I'll keep my shahada, sell my shahada again. That's what you need to do. The moment you're away from this reality and we are into our little bubble, then, oh, I'm the king. No one's objecting and challenging. You'll feel like a king and live like a king. But moment you come to confront with the reality is the Quran will tell you, you are a creation. This book is from God, and this is the evidence for it. And you look, it's like bang, bang, bang. It tells you, and it wakes you up. Okay, fine. I should be a Muslim. This is what our request is you to do. Come back to the reality of yourself, not in a specific bubble to live, and then you realize your heart will be more and more settled, tranquil and content. That's what Islam provides. The moment Islam comes into people's heart with this willing submission, you feel tranquility, contentment. That is one important thing many people don't have. They just go and run around for this happiness. They make money, boyfriends, girlfriends, wealth. Nothing gives them happiness. The moment you have God, you will have
That's
that happiness.
questionable because the Ottoman Empire, if they were so content with Islam and following, why did they start this? Why were they not content with just that, but they had to have slaves
The people,
and gold and...
the people became corrupt. They corrupted. You see, any government, if you have a good law, and the people are implemented by it, it should work.
Yeah, because
But
it's
the moment
hypnotic. The Quran is hypnotic.
it's not about hypnotic, the Quran wakes up people to reality. If you abandon the Quran, as the Quran says, there will be people who will make it mahjura, make it like
Have you heard the story of the Pied Piper?
Pied Piper.
Yeah, who plays and then all the kids come to him.
Yeah. But the Quran is not something hypnotizing people. It does the opposite. It wakes people up.
But some people don't even know Arabic, so how can... I like the sound of the
The book-
Quran. I like the sound of the Quran, but I don't even understand what they're saying.
When you have that sound, it will have an effect on your heart. Because the speech is a speech of God, our Creator. Whether you understand it or not, it will have an impact. It will have an effect. This is the power of the Quran in its original language. But for you, of course, you have to go one step further. Look at the contents of the Quran is saying. The Quran is saying, live your life in a way, with a boundary. And you say, no, I want to overstep the boundary. That's the ego. The moment you want to overstep the boundary, that's the ego comes in. The Quran is saying, control your ego, because that's where you are being tested. Whether your ego is being controlled or not. Whether you want to say, no, I want to do whatever I want to do. Yeah? Because, look at this. Ask yourself, if two things are given to me. One is eternal happiness. All that I want is there. People want many things here. Imagine all of that and more, eternal happiness is there, one option. Or alternatively, you have momentary happiness. 120 years of your life, because that's what many people live by in this world. Which one are you going to go for? The momentary or the eternal?
Hopefully.
The eternal. So
we make a wrong decision.
So people make wrong decisions to take the momentary happiness, and they think, oh, let me take this marijuana, this hashish, this ganja, whatever, because it makes me happy, and they forget the eternal happiness by this momentary happiness.
But what if I don't like what if I'm not grateful? What if I'm not happy with the position Allah has put, the life Allah has given me? What if I'm resentful to Him?
You should ask for.
You should really understand your position. Like, why are you resentful? Because God says in the Quran.
Because there's no justice.
God says in the Quran. This is the point I was just about to make, and my brother is just about to make. You didn't even realize he was just about to say it. God does not put a burden on anyone's shoulder unless they can bear it.
It does though. Many people kill themselves.
No, wait. God does not, He tells us. That means we are within our capability to have patience and live our life without killing ourselves. The people who kill themselves, they have been
They couldn't stand their burden.
No, they have been doctored, brainwashed, conditioned, controlled in a sense like, oh, I cannot do anything. That's the brainwashing. We have so much threshold of pain, you not even imagine. But there's a level of threshold of pain. I may have more or less than you. But every individual has this threshold, and God doesn't put a burden more than they can bear. That's the justice of God. So God will be totally unjust if He puts someone a obligation and a burden on them which they cannot bear. We believe God says so. He is not to the least unjust to His slaves. Yeah, that is what Islam tells you from its principle. It's not like that. So that means whatever you do in life, it's possible, and that's one of the reasons God didn't just send angels from the sky, from the heavens, and tell people, be good, be nice, don't cheat, don't lie. He didn't do that because you and I will complain. I can't do that. You're an angel, maybe you can, but I'm a human being, I can't do that. So He sends human beings who demonstrates by their action that of course you can do that. The Prophet exemplifies in his life, yes, you can do that. And that's why the messengers are human beings. So people have no excuses. You can do that as well. Don't overburden yourself by saying you cannot, because this is something that's self-inflicted. Self-inflicted. Once you surrender to God, you will realize your heart and your mind, your life will change. Then you realize, okay, there's more to what I thought, the aspects that you've neglected, and you'll always be thankful and grateful, and you'll always be learning.
Why do you say you have to surrender yourself?
Surrendering to the will of our Creator. Surrendering will, because that's your submission to someone of a higher authority.
It's just, I'm curious because when I listen to Hitler's speeches, he also said the German people have to submit to.
We are told not to surrender to anyone. Anyone.
No, but I
No
think
human
they're
beings.
will, they're
No.
will. Just as you.
Not to surrender our will to anyone, to that utmost surrender. No nation, no flag, no community. But this utmost reverence that we're going to surrender with is only to God. That's why we cannot even surrender ourselves to the Prophet and the messengers. No, we obey what God has told them to give us in terms of do's and don'ts, but we don't worship the prophets and the messengers. We don't worship anything of the creation.
Why don't you classify a great person like who's changed our world, like Isaac Newton, a messenger?
A messenger is someone.
Just because he didn't spout off about an invisible
I will
being.
explain. A messenger or a prophet of God is not someone that people can make themselves. It's an office that is given. It's an institution of an office, prophethood, messengership, that is given. It's not that you can choose yourself. You can't choose to be a messenger and prophet, right? God appoints prophets and messengers through his wisdom. Through his wisdom. That's why, if you think about it, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he wasn't the most able in poetry, but he was chosen to be the messenger. One should have said, look at all these people. Maybe God should have chosen them because they're composing poetry, but God with his wisdom, he decides otherwise. Talut, Jalut,
Even
Goliath, and them.
He could choose Walid ibn al-Mughira.
Yeah, but God, in his wisdom, he chooses the one and he molds that one which fit for that office. So when Prophet Muhammad, I'll just give you one example. At the age of 40, he was calling people to Islam. So he went to a mount, a small hill. He went up and said, Ya Sabaha, this kind of different kind of calls. This was a call where people, when they hear, they will leave everything. Their jobs, their play, their amusement, their education, they will all run. It's like when you hear a fire alarm, what do? You have some rules. Go to a place where safe, right?
You're talking about,
So I'm talking about Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When he called this is their way of, at that time, something's wrong. So when he said, look, if I told you people, there's an army waiting behind that mountain to attack you, would you believe me? You know what their response was? Of course we will. We've never heard any lie from you. Of course we will. Then he said, I am now a prophet of God. God has made me a prophet. Abandon worshipping false gods, many gods, idols, worship one God, right? I'm paraphrasing the historical event. That's when they became like, no, we're not going to abandon our gods. We're not going to listen to you. So there were sincere ones. They immediately recognized this man indeed is a prophet of God because he has no reason to lie, no reason to fake himself, becoming an imposter. So God in his wisdom knows which one. So the people who are sincere, they will accept it. People who have no sincerity, who are arrogant, they would not accept him. So for these people, even evidence came to them.
We're going to eat.
Inshallah. We're going to wrap up soon?
Yeah, we've wrapped. We've wrapped.
Yeah, I need to wrap up soon.
Right.
Yeah.
5
So,
minutes,
inshallah. Yes, inshallah. Tell me when 5 minutes is over because we need to wrap up though. So what we were saying is this. There are people given evidence by the Prophet. Brought the Quran, which is unimitable. Some people believed, but there are others that didn't believe.
There wasn't there a caliph, one of the caliphs compiled
later.
all the various versions?
No, not various versions. The Prophet left behind the Quran. The Caliph brought this Quran into multiple copies and standardized them as well because the Prophet revealed the Quran in several ahruf or several modes to bring all the different Arab tribes with their nuances together. Because Arabs were not like monolithic. You might say, no, it's soccer, you say no, football, and you fight against each other. So I have to say, okay, fine, you know what, it's okay, soccer, it's okay, football, right? Synonyms. So the Quran was revealed in such a way where it incorporated all these different Arab tribes with their linguistic nuances, synonyms and all the other things that they have in their linguistic variations. At one point later on, people were disagreeing with each other, so the Caliph standardized them according to one script, and they followed. To this day, that's what we follow. So the Quran leaves its hallmark that is divine. So we need to do what? Acknowledge that that's the case. Apply Quran, the teaching of Islam in our life and the teaching of the Prophet in our life. Then we will be okay in the hereafter. If you want to be happy now and happy eternally, you know what to do. If you are going to say, no, I will choose my own path, like some people did, the consequence is going to be yours. I won't be able to help you. He won't be able to help you. In fact, even no one can help me. In the day of judgment, the Quran says, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, on the day of judgment, the father will run out from the son will be. So everyone, basically, paraphrasing, everyone will be run for
يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. He will run from his brother, from his mother and his father, وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ, from his companions and his children. And because at that day, everyone will know that no one else can help them except what they have brought from their previous life of righteous deeds and correct belief. So this is why you have to make sure, my friend Matthias, that you have this provision ready to be able to meet your Creator in the day of judgment. Because if you cannot, no one will be able to help you. I won't be able to help you. God might say, these people reminded you. That's all we're doing, reminding you. What did you do? Were you negligent? Were you saying, I have not time? What excuse will you have? That's what we're saying. Don't leave it to excuses which will not be acceptable. Because God is just of all the judges. He knows what an excuse is acceptable, what is not. These mundane excuses will not be acceptable to the most just judge. So we have to be ready for that day. That's why we're saying an important day when it's not a joke. Death is a reality, so is the day of judgment is a reality.
Christians have the same spiel though.
Christians, if they follow at that time Christ, they're successful. But after Christ, if they haven't followed Prophet Muhammad being the last recipient of the message, they will be in a big problem. Because God, to surrender to Him, to acknowledge Him, is to acknowledge what He has said, what He has willed, and His will is expressed in His messengers. After Christ came Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. If they were negligent, they will be accountable for this negligence.
Why shouldn't I follow the Jewish tradition of monotheism?
If you were there at that time, you'd be okay.
No, but right now.
But right now, God has sent another prophet and another messenger with what you required to do now. Because God sends not only the essential message, but He sends other things as well. Rules and regulations for your time, for you or yourself, to live your life in this community.
Don't you think there's time for a new prophet?
Very important question and a good one. The Quran, being the final revelation, it encompasses all the needs that you need for all times. Being the last messenger, he's come up from God with all the teachings, which stands for all times to come. The teaching is there. You cannot bring a problem where there's no solution from Islam. Euthanasia, gene cloning, you name it. Artificial intelligence, Islam has a solution. Why? Because Islam has been perfected and completed with this final messenger, so that people don't have an excuse saying, how am I going to now live my life in this world when there is no prophet to come afterwards? No, we have to go.
Why is it your question that why did God commanded the surrender?
Okay. I'm going to let you continue speaking because I have to go and pray Asr, which I didn't. You haven't prayed Asr? You haven't prayed Asr? You have prayed. So why don't you speak to Matthias? Of course in amicable terms, because our friend Matthias has been listening, and we have to thank him for that. And then hopefully, he will make his own decision when to recite the Shahada. But don't delay it, my friend. Don't wait for a day when it's going to be too late. So when I come back,
It's not important though, saying
no.
If you want to be a Muslim,
Shahada is for you to come back to your acknowledgement with your Creator, connection with your Creator. Don't delay this connection, because if you die at that state without the Shahada, then you know the consequences. That's why I'm saying I'm going to pray with my brother. I hope and expect when I come back here to see a Muslim. So from me,
interested.
from now, yes, he had 3 shahada before. So from me, temporarily, goodbye, but I'll come back to you again, okay? Take care, let's go, okay, start cool. Take that.
So Matthias, you mentioned an important point that what's your stance on resurrection?
I just said earlier. I just mentioned I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean,
anyone
there are a lot of things we believe in.
Yeah.
So in order to believe something, either it has to be through our vision, through our intellect. Like imagine if I say my great grandfather.
I agree.
Yeah, did I see my great grandfather? No, I didn't. Neither you did. But we believe in it because we know that this chain must be there in order to exist myself here, right?
Yeah.
So therefore we also believe things with reasoning. Now Allah gives us examples, and I want to draw attention to that example. Allah said, have you seen the dead land? Have you seen the dead land? Meaning you see dead land, dead, yeah? What happened? When rain comes, you see the seed started to grow. So from the dead, life come out. And from the life turns into dead. And we experience those both too. So we should not even doubt that Allah is not capable to repeat that process again.
Recently, can I just say?
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because look, a dead land, imagine this is dead. When rain comes, you see that the new green leaf started to grow.
Okay.
That shows that Allah brings a life from dead. Now, look at the opposite.
So it's not that the seed isn't necessarily dead, it's just dormant. It's
No. I am saying the land is dead.
Okay.
If the land is dead, and
Well, it needs the right nutrients.
Correct.
If it don't have the right nutrients,
yeah.
it won't grow.
So look, now there are many things here. So when that seed grows, these need a command from God, because everything happens through the command of God. So He has to will it that seed will grow, and that Allah can grow from dead land to a life. So now that shows that we experience resurrection in our reality, and we also experience every day when you go to the sleep. Sleep is kind of a temporal death, that we lost kind of consciousness, and through the will of God, some of them they can came back to the life in the morning, and some of them they passed away. Quran mentioned that clearly, and we know many people die on the death or on the sleep. So Allah telling you that you experience. Matthias, how old are you, if you don't mind?
25.
25. If I multiply 25, multiply 365 days. That number of days you already experience your death and resurrection. Like, let me count it. Let me count that 25 years. So if I just say, if you sleep once a day.
I'm just not convinced that this is all by command of Allah. I could say, the Quran, the miracle of the Quran is
so 25 years.
But
okay, so you have. I'll address that. You have witnessed 9,125 times the resurrection for yourself. So, yeah, he's gone for Salah. So, bringing an argument against it, it will be very absurd, because you yourself witness. Now imagine if you've been informed 9,125 times minimum, just considering once in a day, would you have that capacity in the day of resurrection? You stand in front of God.
When I was younger, I believed my mom when she said God is everywhere, He's invisible, whatever.
Now we don't believe God is everywhere, by the way. We don't believe God is everywhere.
Okay.
Because, sorry, what's the second point he said?
I was just saying, when I was, it's just not convincing me enough what you're telling me. I think the theory of evolution.
Look, theory of evolution, what we are saying, that when we talk about, look. When we talk about two processes, physical process and non-physical process. Physical process is your physical body. But within that physical process, there are non-physical processes as well. What is that non-physical process? Is how you react, how you think. These are the non-physical process.
Yeah, but then
I'll tell you.
Electricity is firing in the brain. Neurons.
No, look. Do you know the problem of consciousness? Do you know the problem of heart consciousness?
Not exactly. I'm not
Okay,
familiar with
okay. So basically, if you look at the physical process, if you just rely on a physical process, then if physical process, within the physical process, we can also see the non-physical process as well. If everything was physical process, we should not experience the non-physical process. My question is, who is driving that physical process?
No, we're emotional beings. We're emotional.
Right, exactly. This is the main point. So where
That's our
the,
biggest flaw as well. That's
no,
why
but now
we as
if-
a
now,
society
now
are
my
failing.
question is that
We're emotional. We're greedy.
I understand.
Very flawed animal.
Look.
God, Allah made.
No, look. How you define is very important. If you look at evolution point of view, it doesn't define the totality of the physical and non-physical process. So therefore, it's just a way out argument of not believing in God. And we know that
I'm happy
Right.
to believe in God, but
Right.
it's not convincing enough. That's all I'm trying to say.
Look. Okay. No, like one of the argument we presented, Brother Mansur presented previously, that the Quran claims that this is a word from God and that cannot be imitable. This itself is one of the most objective challenge that not
Okay,
subjective.
but you and I both weren't there. We don't know who. We know the story, the angel, but we don't.
We don't need to. Whenever we do any claim investigation, we don't have to go there. We have to look into what has been given to us, so then we examine it. Now imagine, I don't have to go to when the cycle was manufactured. Now I can examine here, is the cycle is durable enough to keep 3 persons.
So what's so beneficial about drinking camel urine, which is mentioned in Quran?
No, it's not mentioned.
No?
No, it's not mentioned in the Quran. Where did you get it?
I'll double check.
Yeah, that's in hadith.
But again, hadith, you need to
I
see which-
understand.
So
It's not
look.
perfect
We are
one.
we are diverting.
And
Akhi.
this kind of things, you don't have to go into it. You
Akhi.
have to go into the base before.
No, because
Akhi,
it's just not beneficial.
I
There's
think
some-
Matthias,
We're talking about the Quran.
Matthias,
Yeah.
we're talking about the Quran. This is not in the Quran. Number one. Number two, we need to look into the claim of the Quran, right? Now, the question about
For me, this because
Akhi.
I have psoriasis. I don't know.
Matthias,
They told me to
did you know the challenges of the Quran? The challenges of the Quran. Has anyone challenged the challenges of the Quran?
What, to make a book as good as it?
Look at the challenges, yes?
Plenty of good books.
Right.
Theory, Charles Darwin's book.
But that's
Isaac
all can be
Newton's
imitable.
book.
I can make it in ChatGPT. I can show you.
No,
I can show you. You want to show
That was a
that?
revelation from God. What Isaac Newton discovered.
So are you
It
use.
changed the world.
So are you
Physics.
So
It changed the
are
world
you?
of physics.
I mean, are you agreeing with our position that the Quran cannot be imitable? Correct?
That cannot be
Cannot be imitable.
imitated.
Meaning something, bring something like it, making a small chapter like it. Do you think it's possible? Making a simple
Well,
language.
it's hard to even this challenge is very subjective.
No, it's
to
not
start
subjective.
off with.
It's not
To
subjective.
start off with, it's very, and secondly, I think the Bible's just as good.
No. You just throw the claims without investigating it, just to
Okay.
get out of the way.
Yeah.
Quran is
Okay,
very.
let's go into it.
Okay. Quran is specific to the point. It has certain structure on it. It has certain grammatical composition in it, and it has laid down information in such a way that cannot be imitable. So these are not subjective criteria. Now,
Can I give one example to him?
yeah, sure.
For example, you're aware of like counting the letter of Quran numbers in the Quran.
Yeah,
There is few
that-
verses speaking about Prophet Jesus, for example. If you count the letter,
I'm gonna finish.
you
I'll
will
wrap you
come
up.
with the age of Jesus. This is one example from thousands.
Yeah.
If you count the letter of what?
If you count the letter of verse speaking about Jesus, you will come conclude like 33.
These
Look.
But I could just I could
many
answer,
verses.
also that these people that compiled the Quran were very good scholars from Jerusalem who studied it all their lives, and they created some wonderful Arabic piece of book.
Look.
But
Matthias, what you're doing?
my first instinct.
No, I think Matthias, what he's doing,
Yeah, but let me just finish,
Matthias is making a hypothetical scenario just to deny the Quran. He knows
I'm
it.
not denying it.
Look.
I'm
He
just
knows it.
saying,
Look.
'cause you-
He, look at that.
But what's more realistic?
Let me investigate.
An angel brought it down, or some scholars wrote it together, discussed. What's more realistic?
Okay, fine. Let me test your claim.
Let me your life.
Okay, brother. I'm allowed. Please. Allow. Let me. Matthias, brother.
Scholars cannot.
Matthias. Let me investigate, brother. Matthias.
Look at musicians. They make songs
do you know?
and
Please,
hope.
please.
Wait. But look,
Matthias, let me explain to you. You know, let me take your hypothetical scenario you created and let me test it. If you are saying all of the people gathered together and some scholars get together and produce it, do you think if they can produce it, now the whole universe now cannot sit down and produce together?
But they
do you
have.
not see?
I just told you many examples.
That's
Isaac Newton's book, which
they're all imitable. We can look into ChatGPT. We can you can ChatGPT.
I study engineering.
Yeah.
Isaac Newton, everything science, everything doctors or physics, yeah? They have to do experience.
Yeah. So,
study it,
Matthias,
come with conclusion. We agree.
Matthias.
We agree they have to study and experience things
well, Isaac
to come
Newton.
with conclusion.
Okay.
Isaac Newton, he saw something fall, he started to study it.
Yes.
And this is how he come with formula, yeah? He couldn't go and do it.
Brother,
another way.
let's, because we are
this is
diverting from the topic. We're diverting from the topic because we are going to the
Yeah,
side
it's
track.
not Islam blindly believing.
Matthias, there's no one.
Faith.
Look. In fact, Akhi, in fact, Allah told us to be skeptical because Allah tells us this: if anyone's bringing information, please check before you accept it.
Yeah, which
so
is
look,
wise.
exactly right. Now, when you're talking about the Quran, the discussion has been diverted. I'm saying, what was the conclusion about the challenges of the Quran? Now, let me finish it up, and you can look it up. The challenges of the Quran still there from nearly 1500 years now, and